Is the CIA controlling global media? Did a silent hand shape the world's headlines? Or was it only history whispering through the wires of global news? In the tense decades after the Second World War, this question hovered over nations like a persistent shadow. Newspapers rose and fell, yet readers sensed that unseen forces guided which stories sparked fear or hope each dawn. Amid this shifting landscape, rumors surfaced, claiming the young intelligence agency held influence beyond its mandate. The leaked memoirs of diplomats and journalists describe late-night meetings where truth and strategy quietly collided. Some editors recalled anonymous callers who spoke with calm authority and suggested which angles best served stability. They insisted these conversations were harmless, yet their diaries hinted at pressures that shaped the tone of entire regions. As the Cold War deepened, information became a weapon sharper than any blade forged on a battlefield. Intelligence officers viewed newspapers as frontline tools, capable of swaying hearts without firing a single shot. Reporters traveling through foreign capitals wrote of encounters with polite envoys offering access in exchange for silence. Others described mysterious envelopes filled with research notes bearing no signature, yet guiding their next headline. Such patterns stirred debate within newsrooms, where young correspondents questioned how much independence truly remained. The agency, officially distant, dismissed accusations as misunderstandings fueled by rivalry and geopolitical anxiety.
Such patterns
Still,
debate within newsrooms,
documents found decades later suggested a complex dance where persuasion, caution, and secrecy intertwined. Allies welcomed subtle guidance, believing coordinated messaging kept fragile alliances from splintering under pressure. Critics argued that shaping narratives blurred the line between protection and manipulation on a global stage. Meanwhile, everyday readers remained unaware of the quiet negotiations behind the articles they trusted each morning. Even seasoned historians struggled to trace the boundary between cooperation and covert influence in archived records. Thus, the first cracks in the mystery appeared, revealing not proof but a mosaic of memories, suspicions, and soft power. And so began the long debate over whether the agency merely observed the world's media or gently steered its voice. By the late 1950s, rumors about a hidden network of influence began circulating through foreign newsrooms and quiet diplomatic halls. Leaked memoranda described small cultural programs that slowly expanded into channels capable of shaping distant narratives. Officials insisted these efforts protected democratic ideals, yet the documents hinted at motives layered with ambition and fear. Across Europe and Asia, correspondents noticed identical phrasing in stories published by outlets that rarely shared sources. Some journalists whispered that unseen hands coordinated these patterns, though few dared to question them openly. The leaked files suggested teams of analysts reviewing foreign broadcasts line by line to guide future messaging. Each directive was written with careful language, masking intent behind discussions of stability, security, and cultural ties. Agents stationed abroad hosted discreet gatherings where editors, writers, and broadcasters exchanged ideas over quiet dinners. These meetings appeared harmless, yet internal notes revealed efforts to steer perspectives toward preferred interpretations. No sums of money were listed, but phrases like support channels and friendly assistance pointed to financial persuasion. As global tensions deepened, the program grew broader, reaching into student newspapers, local radio, and emerging television. Supervisors debated limits, arguing whether influence was a shield against propaganda or a tool that risked moral decay. One memo described the world as a battlefield of words, insisting that stories could win or lose the future without firing a bullet. Another warned that reliance on hidden guidance would erode trust if the public uncovered even a fraction of the truth. By the early 1960s, the program's architecture resembled a vast web whose strands connected dozens of cities. Yet within the files were doubts from agents who feared they were shaping not protection, but manipulation disguised as duty. Editors abroad sensed subtle pressure, recognizing that declining assistance might close doors they had never meant to open. A few courageous reporters documented anomalies in coverage, though their investigations vanished before reaching print. Inside headquarters, uneasy staff noted that the line between influence and interference had blurred beyond recognition. Thus, Chapter 2 reveals a world where quiet strategies grew bold, leaving questions that history continues to chase in silence. In those turbulent decades, the question of media influence grew sharper as whispers suggested unseen hands guiding headlines. Reporters traveled through foreign capitals where rumors claimed that certain broadcasts echoed the aims of distant intelligence. Leaked notes from retired diplomats described meetings held in quiet cafes where editors spoke cautiously about hidden pressures. Some accounts told of envelopes delivered at dusk, containing suggested narratives framed as patriotic guidance for troubled times. Illustrations from that era show smoky newsrooms where typewriters clattered while unseen directives shaped the morning editions. The files hinted that cooperation varied widely, with some journalists resisting firmly while others accepted support without protest. According to these documents, the agency's focus was subtle influence rather than open control, weaving ideas like threads in a loom. Agents were instructed to nurture trusted voices, offering research, contacts, and carefully crafted background stories. The goal, as described in internal memos, was to build narratives that aligned global audiences with national strategic interests. Photographs from that period captured meetings between cultural officers and foreign editors, their expressions calm yet guarded. Witnesses recalled how stories about distant revolutions, economic crises, or political shifts often appeared with striking uniformity. This uniform tone fueled speculation that, more than coincidence, guided the way news traveled across continents and languages. In some regions, radio stations broadcast messages shaped to encourage stability, presenting selected facts while muting harsher truths. Scholars later noted that these methods reflected the logic of the Cold War, where information became a battlefield of shadows. Yet the leaked testimonies stressed that not all influence succeeded, for many journalists defended their independence with courage. Still, the lingering question remained in every archive. How deeply had the agency's unseen hand shaped global understanding of world events? As the new millennium unfolded, questions about media influence deepened, painting the global stage with tones of intrigue and unease. Journalists from distant continents reported similar patterns, as if guided by a single unseen compass, pointing toward quiet alignment. Leaks suggested that certain narratives rose to prominence not by chance, but by careful orchestration hidden behind diplomatic courtesies. Researchers uncovered clusters of anonymous foundations that funneled funds into newsrooms, shaped by subtle but persistent direction. In archive cables, officials debated whether shaping public opinion abroad was a necessity or a temptation too powerful to restrain. Some memos described outreach programs framed as cultural exchange, yet designed to guide editors toward preferred interpretations. Images of bustling newsrooms filled these reports, showing correspondents unaware of invisible corridors leading toward curated truth. Analysts noted that when crises erupted, coverage often shifted in synchronized waves, echoing phrases found in classified drafts. These parallels drew historians to search for deeper patterns, comparing decades of broadcasts across oceans and political divides. The findings hinted at influence woven not through force but through trust, mentorship, and the careful placement of seasoned advisors. In one account, a veteran editor reflected that certain stories seemed to arrive already shaped, needing only a headline to travel. Another testimony recalled quiet dinners where visiting officials offered insight that later appeared almost verbatim on evening programs. To observers, the line between cooperation and manipulation blurred into a haze of shared interests wrapped in diplomatic gestures. Some governments welcomed the guidance, believing it brought stability, while others feared a slow erosion of sovereign narrative. Communities caught in conflicts saw how global perception shifted overnight, altering the fate of protests, elections, and treaties. Behind these shifts, the chapter's leaked documents portrayed an intricate network built on persuasion more than overt control. Historians concluded that influence, once rooted in covert operations, had evolved into a quieter architecture of suggestion. This architecture shaped not only headlines, but the very lens through which entire nations interpreted their own unfolding stories. Thus, the fourth chapter revealed a world where the boundary between information and intention grew thinner with each passing year. And as these revelations spread, the question remained whether truth was being guided for protection or gently bent toward power. In the final years of the century, whispers about hidden influence rose again, drifting through newsrooms like an uneasy fog. Reporters found themselves questioning whether the stories they told truly belonged to them or to unseen hands far away. The leaked accounts from former operatives described a landscape where information was treated as a powerful strategic weapon. According to these testimonies, media outlets in distant continents were guided by contacts who spoke rarely but listened closely. Editors recalled unexpected tips, early warnings, and gentle nudges that shaped narratives without leaving clear fingerprints. Some of these gestures seemed harmless, yet others shifted public moods in ways that aligned with silent geopolitical aims. In private letters, journalists confessed that they wondered how many ideas were theirs and how many had been planted with care. Meanwhile, the agency faced its own doubts as younger analysts asked whether influence had replaced genuine understanding. Memos revealed debates over ethics, legality, and the price a democracy pays when truth becomes a managed commodity. Veteran officers defended the practice, arguing that shaping perception prevented conflict and saved countless unseen lives. Skeptics countered that a nation claiming moral leadership must never blur the line between persuasion and quiet manipulation. As these disagreements deepened, the world entered an age where digital platforms magnified every voice and every deception. The rise of global networks made controlling information far more complex than guiding a single headline or broadcast. Files suggested that influence efforts evolved into subtle partnerships, data exchanges, and psychological strategies. Yet even these new methods faced limits as citizens grew more aware of the invisible battles unfolding behind their screens. In the final leaked report, a senior analyst wrote that no agency could truly control global media in a world so vast and restless. He warned that attempts to shape all narratives would eventually fracture under the weight of human curiosity and dissent. Thus, the story ended not with certainty, but with a question echoing through history. Who truly guides the truth we consume each day? And in that unresolved echo, the reader is reminded that the struggle for honest information belongs not to agencies, but to all of us. Rumors surfaced, claiming the Young Intelligence Agency held influence beyond its mandate. The leaked memoirs of diplomats and journalists described late-night meetings where truth and strategy quietly collided. Some editors recalled anonymous callers who spoke with calm authority and suggested which angles best served stability.
The African-American reader is reminded that the struggle for honest information belongs
yet
not
their
to
diaries
agencies,
hinted at
but to
pressures
all
that
of us.
shaped the